Hey, what's up? Are you still stuck in the old school, outdated, cradle to grave consumer lifecycle mindset? If you're not even sure what I'm talking about, well, you got to stay tuned because we're going to be talking about cradle to cradle retailing, how you can keep customers coming back to your dealership, not only to buy their vehicles, but to service their vehicles and to sell back those vehicles to you so you can sell them again. So be sure to check out this next episode of Dropping Knowledge with Noah starting now. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Dropping Knowledge with Noah, your source of low-quality videos about high-quality solutions and poor facial hair choices. Today, we're going to be talking about cradle-to-cradle retailing. It's a concept that I've been kind of working on for the past couple of months. And really, the way to kind of think about it is how can you, as a dealer or retailer, keep your customers coming back? The other, aspect of it is how can you get those vehicles that those customers are buying from you coming back to you in good condition? So really the way to kind of think about it in simplest terms is it's the circle of life, but we've got two circles of life. You got your customer circle of life, right? They purchase the vehicle, they own the vehicle, they service the vehicle, and then they trade it back in. But then there's also that vehicle service circle of life. So that's where you get the vehicle somehow, by the manufacturer, by getting a trade-in, by getting it off of auction, and then all the things that you do with it until you get it back. So what I'm going to do is really just kind of ask a lot of questions and kind of point out some ways that you can, bring people back into your dealership and turn them into customers for life so you can get those pieces of inventory that are high quality back into your own stock so you can sell them again and create more customers for life. So let's start it off by talking about merchandising. So merchandising, really, it's your conception, right? So like I said before, you've got this new piece of inventory. Either you got it from the manufacturer's allocation, you got it from the auction, you bought a trade-in, you got it off of Facebook Marketplace, whatever, right? First step is, hey, let's merchandise it. And the first thing I'm going to say is, hey, take good photos of that vehicle, right? Because it drives engagement with that vehicle where people see it. Most people, they're going to be researching their vehicles, looking for inventory online. They want to see high quality photos of it. It's an easy cheat code. It's really the foundation of good merchandising. The other thing is add some comments to it. Take some videos of it. Do a 360-degree spin. You want to make sure you're as transparent as possible with the condition of that vehicle, and you can build that trust by merchandising it effectively. Now, when it comes to pricing that vehicle, right, you got to think, are you using market-based data to price it out, right? Are you looking at other inventory in your area and how that's priced to determine where you want to land in the market, besides just kind of using a hunch and, historical data? What's going on right now? Now, the other thing finally is making sure that when you syndicate that piece of inventory to all of your different platforms, that the pricing is aligned. So just doing a little bit of setup, right? Make sure that that price that people see wherever they view that piece of inventory is going to be aligned. So that way, when they do come into the dealership, there's no, surprises there. Now let's talk about marketing that vehicle. So you've got it in stock, you merchandised it, you got some good photos on it, you got some good comments, you got a good price. Now it's time to market it. So number one, you got it on all the major listing sites. Are you getting it in front of people who are interested in what you have to sell? Now, when it comes to your website, you got to ask, is your website set up to provide a great first impression for that shopper, personalize the experience for them, get them to where they want to go, which is usually your piece of inventory, and make it easy for them to take that next step. You want to think of it as like a greased slide to get to conversion. So how simple and easy is it for them to interact with your site, get to the inventory that they're looking for, and then pick up the phone, fill out their form, start their deal online, or just come into the dealership and get that deal going. Now, when it comes to advertising, right? So digital advertising, paid search, display, remarketing, social, video, retargeting, all of that fun stuff. We got to think about, are we able to identify audiences correctly, right? Look for people who are interested in what you have to sell and deliver the right ads to those people at the right time. So you got to work with a partner who can access those audiences. Are they using first-party data? That's another question you got to be asking in today's marketplace. Are you able to filter out people who aren't interested in what you have to sell, might not be in market at all? And are you able to generate demand for people who might be in market, right? And then capture that demand and send them to your website. So a lot of good questions you want to be asking when it comes to advertising and making sure that the ads that you're delivering are highly targeted and personalized to that individual shopper. People are a little bit wary of all this tracking that's going on online, but they overwhelmingly prefer targeted advertising for the stuff that they're interested in buying. That's just what we see nationwide. We want to make sure we're doing the right thing, sending the right ads to the right people at the right time. Now, the other thing too is we've got to make sure that those ads are showing up in the areas where you've got the highest concentration of your in-market shoppers. So can you view those shoppers? Can you see where they are in the buying cycle, and how can you target them? So you got to ask that question with your vendor. Now, let's talk about selling that vehicle. So this is a big one. Now we're going to kind of flip the script, talk about sales process. So how are you selling that car to that person, right? Now, a big question is, are you still using the old, just bring them in, do the old dog and pony show where, hey, wait here while I go talk to my sales manager. You wait for 4 or 5 hours, and then finally you sell the car, but the person never wants to see you again. Are you doing that in any capacity? You got to ask yourself that. And how long does your sales process usually take? So an interesting stat that Cox Automotive came up with a couple of years ago, actually, they come up with it every year, is how long it typically takes to buy a car in a dealership. Right now, it's about 2.5 hours in store. But shoppers, they want that process to take about 90 minutes or less. So whatever we can do to streamline that process and bridge that gap means you're going to have happier customers who want to keep coming back to you because it's easy to buy a car from you. So you got to ask yourself, what kind of tech am I using to streamline that process? How can I eliminate these little pain points, these little transitions that add up to time spent in the dealership when it could be done, more efficiently? The other thing is, can you flex your sales process to the needs of your shoppers, right? Everybody is their own special snowflake when it comes to buying a car, and they want to buy it their way. So you've got, your early adopters, the people who want the Tesla experience and buy totally online. And you've got people who want to interact with the dealership a little bit, but do everything at home and then have the car delivered to them, but still kind of interact with the person. Then you've got people who want to start the deal online, come into the store, complete the transaction there. You got people who want to just come into the store, point at a vehicle and say, hey, I'd like to buy that today. Do you have the technology to flex to each type of that buyer and make that experience for every one of them, better overall, more efficient and more profitable for you, right? So ask yourself, can they start a deal online? Can you do e-signing? Can you pick up a deal in store if they started a deal online? Can you send people pre-configured deals so that they can complete at home to get more of those steps done? So if they do want to come in, it's just, hey, let's sign and drive. Let's get out of here. Does your desking tool connect to your contracting tool? Does it connect to your DMS? Does it connect to your digital retailing tool? Are you having to re-enter information over and over again as you progress through that process? Each time you're re-entering information, that's time wasted and a potential for error, which adds up to more wasted time, right? Because you have to go back and fix it, right? Now, how do you manage compliance? Are you doing it digitally? Are you doing identity verification? Are you protecting yourself there? And once again, you got to think, how are we streamlining this process and focusing more on the customer experience so that they want to keep coming back? It's great to sell the car, but what we really want to be doing is continue selling to that car for over their entire lifetime. Now, let's talk about servicing the vehicle. And, this is a huge opportunity. I think a lot of dealerships overlook is that transition from sales into service. And there's a key opportunity here, and that's introducing somebody to your service department when they purchase a vehicle. So only about 15% of shoppers are introduced to the service department when they buy a car. And that means that we're not scheduling that first service with the dealership right then and there. And we see if somebody schedules their first service at the dealership, it actually increases the likelihood that they're going to continue to service that vehicle at the dealership by 40%. So think about how much of a lost opportunity there is if we don't just take that extra step. So really train up your salespeople to say, hey, you bought the car, let me just take you over to the service department so you can get this thing lined up and serviced correctly. Because, hey, you're buying an $80,000 truck, you've got all these electronics, these cameras, whatever. We want to make sure that this thing is running perfectly for you the whole time that you own it. Now, when it comes to booking those services, do we make it easy for them? Do you have an online portal to schedule those services? How are you managing your schedule? Are you just plugging stuff into your DMS, or do you have a good service scheduler? Do you make it easy for your service advisors to book those services and manage the calendar? Now, with your service scheduler, is it bringing up, previously refused services to, bring those top of mind to increase those ROs? Are you able to bring in, open recalls for that vehicle so people can make sure that that recall is taken care of next time they come in? Now, the other thing too is, are you properly filling out your entire schedule? So a lot of times what we're seeing is dealerships, they just have their schedule open. There's no incentive to book in the afternoon. So you've got a bunch of activity early in the morning, a lot of stuff happening. And then in the afternoon, all the service bays are empty. So are you incentivizing people to maybe schedule in the afternoon? Hey, you can take 3% off your service bill if you schedule for the afternoon. All of a sudden, now you're filling out that calendar a little bit more fully. You're maximizing your throughput. Plus, you're shortening the time that people have to wait to schedule their next service because you're not dragging it out all the way into the mornings, right? Now, when it comes to marketing your service department, right, are you re-engaging shoppers who bought a car and might not have serviced with you, right? Maybe they are sold, never serviced. So how are you getting messaging in front of them? How are you getting messaging in front of them to remind them of their next service? Is it just time-based, or are you looking at event-based stuff based on the activities that they display on your website, other marketing channels, right? Now, the other final thing is, for those shoppers who have scheduled service, it's in the, the service bay. Are you engaging them with video and photos of the service that needs to be done? So say that person schedules that service, it's the oil change. We put it up on the lift. We notice, hey, we got some scoring on your rotors and it looks like your brake pads are, only at 1 millimeter. You need to replace those. Now, normally, right, service advisor just calls that person up and says, hey, we noticed this. You should, really replace these pads and rotors. But most people are pretty skeptical of it, and it's kind of a difficult conversation. Instead, your service advisor can call that person, text them actual photos of the work that needs to be done. Now you've got a higher level of trust with that customer, and they're more likely to adopt that service and trust you for their next time that you've recommended a service. Hey, you know what? These guys aren't out there to just randomly throw on a bunch of extra work on my car that's not needed, that's not needed overall. All right, so we've got the person scheduling services, servicing their vehicle over the lifetime of it. Now it's time to get it back. So when you've got people in your service bay, is your sales team offering, to buy that vehicle back? Are they sending offers to that customer, right? Hey, we know how much equity you have in that vehicle. We'd love to get that into our inventory and we can get you a new one for this much a month, right? Now, are you using market-based data for your appraisals, right? Are you looking what the market is doing to generate an appraisal for that vehicle so you're really aggressive with it and getting that into your inventory, knowing when, or if you should get that vehicle. Now, if you do get that vehicle, do you have a backup plan, somebody to, take that off your hands if for whatever reason you don't want to stock it as part of your deal, right? And when you make an offer for that trade-in, right, is it just a piece of paper that you're handing it to the shopper, or are you including it as part of a digital deal? Hey, here's your digital deal. We've got your trade-in. This is a new vehicle that we'd recommend. You're in a 2012 Tacoma. We got the new 2024. We can get you into it for $599 a month with your trade-in already added in. This is how much we offer you. We got some really good rates for you right now. You can start your deal, get them back into that life cycle. And then also circling back to merchandising that vehicle, taking good photos, or adding good comments to it, getting it out to your listing sites, making sure your pricing's aligned, and then going back right into that circle of life for that piece of inventory and for your customer who wants to buy their next car. So thank you so much. Really hope you guys learned something. Stay tuned for more Dropping Knowledge with Noah, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks again. Have a good one.